This game, honestly, was everything that I love about playoff football. It's everything that you love and everything that you uh, hate might be a strong word, but it's just like it was just smash mouth football for 4 straight quarters. Um, it was, it's those little things in playoff games that you always look at. Um,
Listen, there was one point in that game where I really thought the Lions were going to the Super
yeah.
Bowl.
Oh,
I thought it was done, but there was a point once I saw that 49ers offense click once, I knew it was over
yeah.
because Shanahan did the same thing. That group did the same thing against the Packers. They went down, one thing clicked, and it was over.
Yep.
It was over. That offense turned on. They started utilizing Debo Samuel
Mm-hmm.
more. He was really able to move the ball. I mean, he had 3 catches, I think, for over like 20 yards in the matter of like two
Yeah.
drives, which really got them downfield. Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
And then I feel like they didn't use Kittle as much this game, where they used him more in that Packers game.
Well,
But they used the deep ball to Ayuk, which really
mm-hmm.
worked. And just moving that ball around, man, they're good. And that defense is really good. Like we've talked about stopping teams in the second half, and
Yeah.
they stopped the Lions in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned, it's funny you mentioned, because Kittle didn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet like he normally does, but that pancake block that he had
on Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a great running a blocking tight end when running. Yeah. He's one of the best in the game at it. 100%.
Everybody on that team it's an all-star team. You have Debo Samuel, who, is just he's almost impossible to tackle. George Kittle was the highest graded tight end this season. First team All-Pro. Christian McCaffrey's the best in the world at his position. Brock Purdy was an MVP finalist. Is an MVP finalist. It just, and Ayuk is, he's a top 10 wide receiver. Probably, I might be underselling him. Like he's outstanding. Mm-hmm. That catch was unbelievable. And it's, I mean, people talk about just a franchise. Like I can't even imagine being a Lions. Like I think I have it hard as a Bills fan. Imagine being a Lions fan, and that game. And I, we'll talk about him in a second, but I have such a massive amount of respect for what Dan Campbell said after the game, where he's like, "We don't know if we'll ever be back here. This could have been our shot." I mean, he keeps it a buck like no other coach does in the league, and I think, regardless of what we'll talk about in a second, you have to respect what Dan Campbell, how he coaches, and especially what he has done with this franchise and with this team for the past few years and this year in particular.
I mean, listen, especially with football, I feel like we see it more with baseball, but just like teams sneaking into conference or league championships and then kind of just disappearing.
Yeah.
Like in terms of making it and then just not making it back. Like, which could be the Lions, and like you take advantage of your time there. But I mean, man, I wasn't a big fan when the time came, them going for it on fourth down. I understand you have been there, you've done it all year. It is their MO.
Yeah.
But man, you lost by 3 and you didn't convert on the fourth down. Could have kicked a field goal. You don't know how the game would have ended. 49ers might have been more aggressive on a certain drive. I don't know. But to lose by 3 and to not kick the field goal. But also, granted, Michael Bagley is the kicker. He's not amazing.
Sure.
He was better with the Chargers, but he's not amazing. But man, yeah. I mean, you would have loved it if they converted it, but you hate it if they don't. I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan.
So tough because it's like you said. That is what's gotten them to this point.
It has.
Dan Campbell all year has been aggressive on fourth down, and it's like you said, it's been their MO. It's been a huge driving force in the success that they've had this season. So I understand the fact that it's like, hey, if it ain't, it's like, I don't know, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, it's gotten us this far. Why are we going to abandon it now? And I understand, like, Dan Campbell's trying to punch them in the mouth. He's trying to end that game and put them away. And I totally understand that. But at the same time, and even like, I think the analytics even said it makes sense to go for it at this point.
Yep.
But, and I love, like, I'm a big proponent in trusting the analytics and the numbers. But at a certain point too, the analytics can't measure what getting getting stopped on a fourth down in that situation and giving the ball back does to the momentum of a game, especially when you're not the home team. You're playing in San Francisco. You're playing an offense in San Francisco that can turn it on like that, like you were talking about. And all it takes is a little spark for them to be able to get their juice back. And that's exactly what that did. Now, you could look at, talking about the numbers. If you look at EPA, expected points added or lost, that going for it on fourth down and not converting was I believe it still sat behind the Jahmyr Gibbs fumble, the dropped pass from Reynolds. So it's like, while it wasn't like statistically the most negatively impactful play, I think like you could argue that mentally and emotionally there's an argument to be made that it might have been the most impactful play there.
Oh yeah, I would agree. I mean, there are so many plays in a game, you can never pick out one.
Yeah,
like
right.
that in terms of saying this completely changed the game.
Sure.
There's so many different plays.
Or this lost the game.
Passes,
like, it's hard to say that.
Like,
yeah.
whatever, fumble, whatever. It was one play in the whole thing, but when you lose by 3, that's where it's like, man, it could have been different. But, and you talked about analytics. The analytics definitely suggested. I just wonder, and they talked about this on the Pat McAfee show last week when they had J.J. Watt on, and it was like, are we going to get to the point where your whole entire like lineup of plays is analytics, and you only go by analytics? Like, when are we going to get to that point? I'll never forget when the Rays were in the World Series and they took out Blake Snell because of analytics. And I could make an argument this day the Rays could have won the World Series if they kept Blake Snell in.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, he was so dominant. I get the analytics, but man, sometimes you just gotta either go with your gut or go with just the flow of the game and just because maybe stats are accurate, but like, stats don't know what's going on in this game. They don't know how many people are in the crowd. I guess they do.
No. I know what you mean.
They don't know the environment.
It's real.
Like,
it's so.
Could you take into account you're at Candlestick? The 49ers have a huge fan base. Yeah. Like, it's big. Like, sometimes you just gotta. I mean, but technically, like, his gut is going for it. Like, it is so tough. It is so tough. I don't know.
I think because the whole question has been, is Dan Campbell to blame for the loss? And I don't think the short answer, no, he is not to blame for the loss. But I think the fact that it's even a question, I think puts, is what is driving this conversation. Because, if there's not if Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't fumble the ball, if Reynolds catches the ball on that fourth down conversion, if he catches the ball that hit him in the hands, you know what I mean? Like, it was the right read. It was a good throw. It's just tough because these games, and that's part of the beauty of playoff football, and it's part of what makes it so tough, is that these games are so often, they're so close, and for fans and for analysts, it comes down, we love to look at it and say, wow, it came down to this one play or this one call. You know what I mean? And I think you have to look at it you have to take a step back and realize that, it is so hard to win in the NFL. And I think Dan Campbell realizes that. And, so does Kyle Shanahan. Like, every coach knows that. And I think in his mind, it just made sense. Like he said, we don't know if we're ever going to be back here. Why would I change what's gotten me to the NFC Championship game?
Of course. When
I might never get back here again. And if he did change, say they kick the field goal and still lose, then it's like, then you're talking about, well, why weren't it always goes the other way. Then you're talking about why weren't they aggressive on fourth down? That's what got you to this point.
Of course.
There's no winning, but it's just tough because they lost by 3 points. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah. And I mean, the Lions' future is bright.
Yeah, absolutely.
With their talent, Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that defense, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Branch is so talented.
Yep.
But with that also being said, man, people are tooling up around them.
Yeah.
The Packers, Jordan Love looks good.
Yes, he does.
If you would have had Lions-Packers in the playoff, it would have been a coin toss, in my opinion. Their defense looked good this year. Their offense was just explosive. Aaron Jones' ability to run the ball was explosive come the end of the year when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And man, the Bears could have Caleb
I was
Williams.
just about to
could
say.
Be the future.
Chicago Bears are about to be a problem.
And they're going to have 2 really good picks. They might, who knows if they trade up to try to maybe get a 4th spot to get Marvin Harrison or something like that. They're on the up and up, kind of.
No, they are. They were 8-9 this year, right? Was that their fight? Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
their defense needs some help. Trading for Montez Sweat was, I think that's his name.
Yeah,
was a pretty good trade.
He led the team in sacks.
Yeah,
that
was a good trade.
Yeah,
I thought it was questionable at the time, but man, he played really well when he came over.
Yeah,
they got some young pieces in that secondary. They definitely need to continue to build, but teams are building up around them. The NFC is going to be getting better, hopefully.
Yep.
A lot of coaching changes too. Washington's going to be taking a quarterback with that second pick, probably. There's a lot of teams.
Detroit's about to lose Ben Johnson too. They're about to lose it. Possibly they're about to lose their offensive coordinator, who is kind of the he's the bread and butter.
That being said, more coaches might be going taking bigger roles, because a lot of times especially when you see Jared Goff, a huge glow up, their quarterback coach may go somewhere, or he might get promoted to the offensive coordinator. But things are going to change when you have success. Things change. Look at the Eagles. They lose their offensive defensive coordinator, and they just blow up this season. That offense looked totally different with their coach going to. I think the offensive coordinator went to Arizona, defensive coordinator went to the Colts.
Other way around, but yeah.
Way around. Things changed. Who knows if that kind of happens with the Lions? Things are changing, but 49ers, they're going to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. It's a rematch of when it was Garoppolo 3 years ago.
Much different.
Now it's Brock Purdy time. But man, it'll be, I know a lot of people think it's gonna be a boring Super Bowl. I think it'll be a fun Super Bowl.
Not. Look,
whether Mahomes wins or not, we're gonna see a lot of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. I think it's funny because, and obviously, have to give your props to the Lions because they had a phenomenal season.
Of course.
And they played their asses off, and they deserved to be there. In the end, it's like I said, it's hard to win in the NFL, especially in the playoffs. And I don't think they should hang their heads on their season at all. I don't think anybody is surprised that the San Francisco 49ers are representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think at the end of the day, this is the team that we thought would be there, and they are. And so I think, and now the bigger question, and we'll talk about this in the coming week, leading up to the Super Bowl, but it's time to stop the game manager conversation surrounding Brock Purdy. For me, at least, the way I view it, He's so much more than that, man. I mean, like, yeah, he misses a couple throws every now and then, and sure, there are a couple times a game where he looks a little uncomfortable. He is in his second year. He hasn't played 2 full seasons in the NFL yet, and he's already playing in his second NFC Championship game. Now he's won one. I know he has a super team around him. I know that. But like, I don't know how, like, if you put Kenny Pickett in his situation, is Kenny Pickett going to do what he's doing? I don't know. We'll never know. But Brock, I mean, an interesting thing, like, I was looking at, I'm a huge Pro Football Focus fan. I love their site and their data. But I was looking back at some of the grades that they were giving freshman quarterbacks in 2018, I believe. Trevor Lawrence was a freshman. Obviously, he was the highest graded freshman quarterback. You know who their number 2 graded player was? It was freaking Brock Purdy.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I just don't. And correct me if I'm wrong, or what you think on this, but I think that if he was like a 3rd round pick, the discussion would be so much different.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's just because he was Mr. Irrelevant. It's like people are like, how the fuck did we miss this guy?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he's that good.
I think Brock Purdy's good.
Yeah.
I think he's really good. But where my concern comes in is like Jimmy Garoppolo did the same.
But
like my worry comes like Jimmy Garoppolo went to the Raiders and stunk. Like
but Jimmy Garoppolo, but it looked different though. Like
100%.
Like Purdy can move a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
he's making I think who was our good buddy Brennan Miller gave a good I think, and I hate using the term game manager because people throw it around like a diss, but it's not a diss. I really don't think he is an elite game manager. Like anybody who says that like Kyle Shanahan is not the brains behind that offense is lying, because he is. He's an elite offensive mind, one of the best of our time. And Brock Purdy, executes his game plan to a T. But when he needs to go off script and make plays, we've seen that he can do that. So I just think I just think it's like, I don't know. What do you think? Because
I don't know. I'm just like so in the middle. I really like Brock Purdy. I think he's really good. I just wish we could see like one game, even though we can't unless he ever left. I just want to see one game of him in a different system.
Sure, yeah.
Like put him in like, I don't even know, like Carolina. No, Carolina's too bad.
That'd be real bad.
Maybe like a place like New Orleans or the Falcons, and just see how he does in a different system. Obviously, we might not get to see that for a while if he ever leaves, but I don't know. I saw how great Garoppolo was with them, and now he's not good. But at the end of the day, I don't think Brock Purdy is just like a system quarterback. I think he's good.
I just think like Jimmy.
I think everybody around him helps him.
I totally agree with you. I mean, but like Jimmy Garoppolo was never putting up the numbers that Brock Purdy was putting up. Like that.
I agree.
And I think like it's a totally different situation. But like Brock Purdy came into an incredibly. I just think about if you're Kyle Shanahan and you have this, offensive juggernaut to build around a quarterback, and you trade 2 first-round picks to draft a quarterback, and then you trade that quarterback because you would rather play Mr. Irrelevant, I think that says something. Like Kyle Shanahan's not like, you don't give up on the 3rd overall.
He knows ball.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You don't give up on the 3rd
point.
Overall pick that quickly to play Mr. Irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like,
that's very fair.
I don't know. That's I think that's a simple way of looking at it, but it's also like, I mean, it's again totally different. Patrick Mahomes came into a great system. It could. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that, but it's a sort of similar situation where, he came, like Brock Purdy was drafted onto one of the best offensive teams in football under one of the best offensive minded head coaches, one of the best offensive play callers of our generation, and he's got a plethora of weapons around him. Now, we've seen Patrick Mahomes, be Patrick Mahomes without weapons. We've never seen, to your point, we've never seen Brock Purdy without George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. So, yes, I get that. You know what I mean?
Do you I'll bring up two questions. Yeah. Do you think that if Brock Purdy goes into the Super Bowl, stinks it up, the 49ers score 10 points, if so,
sure,
do you think there's a question mark in the offseason that if Brock Purdy's the quarterback, do you think it's set in stone, he is the franchise quarterback moving forward? Or does he go into the Super Bowl, stink it up? Is there a question mark going into the offseason?
I don't.
If they try to bring in somebody else or trade for somebody.
I don't think so. I think if he plays poorly in the Super Bowl, I think there's a chance that maybe they draft a quarterback in the, maybe they draft a quarterback in the second or third round. But I don't think. I don't, because franchise quarterback is a strong term. That's a strong term, but I think that right now, no matter what he does in the Super Bowl, he's the starting quarterback next year, because he led the team to the Super Bowl. Regardless of everything around him, the defense is great, the offensive weapons are great. Mm-hmm. He still has the ball in his hand, and did enough and more to lead this team to the Super Bowl. So,
but I just wonder, I don't know what's going to happen with him in the offseason. I bring it up because there's always been a connection between this quarterback and Shanahan. There's always been a connection since their days in Washington. Is Kirk Cousins. He's a free agent this offseason. There has always been a hope for a reunion. The 49ers, I'm pretty sure that same year they drafted Trey Lance, they inquired about Kirk Cousins to try to trade for him, and they were interested the last time he was in that contract negotiation. Dude, if that's there, and you are Shanahan, do you ride with Brock Purdy? If you know, hey, Kirk Cousins would come if the opportunity is there, or do you ride with Brock Purdy? What do you do? I think Kirk Cousins in a Shanahan system would be absolutely unbelievable, MVP caliber.
Yeah,
I think what he's already doing with the Vikings now is very. He was having a great season before he got hurt.
He was unbelievable.
You put him in a Shanahan offense. Oh my god!
It's a
what?
It's a fun question to pose. I don't think it's financially feasible for them to sign Kirk Cousins.
Oh, they can't afford it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Brock Purdy,
that is very
and
fair.
I think that's part of what makes. I think that's part of why Brock Purdy is such an appealing player.
He's so cheap. But that's only going to be so for cheap. 2 more years.
Well, but
1 more year.
That's when I think you start to have that conversation. When Brock Purdy's nearing the end of his rookie deal and it's time to give him an extension, then you start having this conversation. But I think until that's the case, Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback for the 49ers. And I don't even think
it's interesting because who knows if all the rumors were true, but I had seen last week that the 49ers tinkered with the possibility of bringing Brady in.
Yep, I saw that.
They had told Purdy or maybe Brady, whatever, Brady would be a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's Brady, but seems like there was a question mark there. But I mean, he's kind of established himself as the starter going forward. That was interesting because Cousins always been linked there, and who knows? Discussion for another time next time we talk, but I do think Kirk Cousins leaves. I think it's starting to get more evident that he is leaving.
That means you guys got to draft a quarterback.
But you got to trade up because after the 10th pick, it's probably Bo Nix. I will say I do like JJ McCarthy. If they don't go top 10 drafting quarterback, I like JJ McCarthy.
Okay. Hey, yeah, that's
Book it.